Good morning. I would like to bring to order, Dr. McCaskey? I'd like to bring to order the September 21st, 2022 Planning Advisory Commission meeting to order. The official start of this meeting is 9:03 a.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I'd like to remind those of you in the audience and the commissioners to please silence or turn off your cell phones. And I want to make sure everybody knows we do have people watching on the closed circuit TV as well. So if you're speaking, please speak at the podium so people can on TV can see and hear you. This is the first hearing of the rezoning request brought before us today. First, we'll hear a reading of the staff report for the case by the city planning staff and ask the applicant to provide a brief overview of the request. We will then give an opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak for or against that request or to make questions about the request. But I see we have a lot of people here, and so I do ask that if what you have is the same as what somebody else has already said, that we don't need to hear the same thing 4 or 5 times. We are interested in hearing everything people have to say. The commissioners will then have any discussion on the case. Once a motion is made and seconded by the commission, a vote will take place and we will make a recommendation. The case will go back to the planning department for its independent recommendation, and if planning gives a favorable recommendation, then the case is forwarded to the city council with the 2 independent recommendations. If the planning department makes a recommendation to deny the application, the applicant will have 10 days from the receipt of the letter stating the denial to notify the clerk of council that they're asking to be put on the city council's agenda. When a case comes before the council will hold a public meeting, and at one of its public meetings, there will be the first reading of the case. The council will consider the case and review the PAC and the planning department's recommendations and hear discussion on the matter. And then at its next meeting, the council will make a final decision on the case, referred to as the second reading. Okay, our first agenda item today is to approve the minutes from our last meeting of September 7th, 2022. Does anyone have any comments or corrections to the minutes? Okay, then do we have a motion to approve the minutes? Second. All in favor, raise your right hands. Okay, thank you. The minutes have been approved. That brings us to our only case for today. John, please read the staff report for case number REZN 08221561.
Yes, sir. This is a request to rezone 6.63 acres of land located at 243 and 220 Oakley Drive. Current zoning is RMF2. Proposed zoning is RO, residential office with conditions. The proposed use is multifamily apartments. Lucy John is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 3, Huff. The general land use is consistent for planning area E. The current land use designation is multifamily. The future land use designation is single-family residential. It is compatible with the existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an improved drainage plan prior to issuance of a site development permit if a permit is required. Property is served by all city services. Average annual daily trips will increase to 1,409, up from 260 trips if used for residential usage. The level of service will remain at a level B. The site shall meet the codes and regulations of CCG for residential usage. There'll be no school impact. The buffer requirements, the site shall include a Category C buffer along all property lines bordered by the SFR2 zoning district. The 3 options on a Category C are 20 feet with a certain amount of canopy trees, understory trees, shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, 10 feet with a certain amount of shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet in a wood fence or masonry wall, 30 feet undisturbed natural buffer. Fort Benning, there's no Fort Benning recommendation, no DRI recommendation. The surrounding zoning to the north is GC, to the south is SFR2, to the east is I-185, to the west is SFR2. 55 property owners within 350 feet of the subject property were notified of the rezoning request. The planning department received 15 phone calls. 2 of those were in opposition regarding the rezoning. Additional information. This rezoning was triggered by an existing apartment building being destroyed by fire roughly a year ago. To start the rebuilding process, this rezoning is required to bring the complex into compliance. Currently, there's 390 parking spaces that would be required based off the units. Per the UDO, the engineering department agrees to waive or grandfather in the previous parking requirements to permit the existing 189 parking spaces. Inspections and codes has received no parking complaints in this area related to overflow from the apartment complex. And that's it.
Thank you. A couple of questions. One, just for the record, some of the documentation that we saw mentioned 220 Oakley Court as one of the addresses, and some of it mentioned 220 Oakley Drive. Just for the record, is it 220 Oakley Drive?
It is, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And as far as the fire, just so I understand, this complex was in place before before the city put into effect the UDO, and so it was grandfathered in, and in order for them to just rebuild what was burnt down, they need to get the zoning changed to reflect what it actually is, but they're not talking about making any changes to what was in place before.
That's correct. Prior to 2005, these apartments existed, and whenever the 2005 UDO changes took in effect, the property was effectively grandfathered in at RMF2. This permitted them to continue being used as apartment complex, but technically made them non-compliant because they didn't have enough parking, nor did they have enough. They were over the allotted limit for the units allowed in RMF2. So, which is that's what's triggering the rezoning to RO. They missed their 6-month window to start construction on the burned down apartment building, and this is why this is being brought up.
Okay, thank you. Do any commissioners have questions for staff? No, okay. Will the applicant please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and describe your request?
Good morning. I'm Lucy Jones with the Woodruff Property Management Company, and we're located at 3580 Massey Lane, Suite 240 in Columbus. And I'll just reiterate everything that John has said. Yes, the product was built in the 60s. We did not start rebuilding within 6 months due to insurance, and I know y'all are familiar that that may take longer sometime. And as I've stated to Bruce Huff yesterday, the fire about a year ago, we're going to build back the same exact slab we're going to use. We're going to build the same number of units again, 16 units. It'll be nicer than what was there before because it'll be brand new. The rents will be higher because it'll be brand new. So it'll be an enhancement to the neighborhood. And again, this is just a housekeeping item to be in accordance with the city and rezone it to RO. And if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
Thank you. I just had one question. When I drove by, I couldn't see where the burnt out area was. Is that east or west of Oakley Drive?
Help me with my direction. I can just see the slab. There's
closer
just a
to the
slab.
interstate?
There's just a slab there.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's east or west.
Okay.
I thought
Thank
it was
you.
west, but
Okay. In the larger group of
yes,
apartments?
in the larger
Okay.
area. Yes,
Thank you.
definitely.
I have a question. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, you were saying they're going to be a little bit higher in rent now?
Yes, because it's going to be brand new. The other product that's there was, like I said, built in the 60s. So it'll be brand new, first generation. Whoever gets to live there is going to be super nice. So the rents will be a little higher than what, we're getting currently today.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this request? Okay.
Good morning, Assistant Planning Director Renfro and the commissioners. I'm here this morning. We had a conversation yesterday, both with Assistant Director here and Lucy Jones. We're not against the project. What we wanted to do was get amended so that there would be no office space built there, only apartments only. They didn't want anything to slip in as far as additional liquor stores, any other businesses to come in there. So there's not a problem replacing apartments only.
Thank you. And just a clarification for staff, the zoning classification that they have to use is a general one that it would include not just the apartments, but also stores and things like that.
That is correct. The residential offices are most dense units per
Okay.
acre.
But we are able, if we propose to do so, to add a condition.
Right,
To it
and
on
I would
the
recommend
use.
conditioning for this, this particular property to be conditioned for apartments only, rather than try and list out all the possible commercial uses or office uses that it could use.
Okay, thank you. Do commissioners have any questions for the counselor? Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak in favor of the proposal? Or anyone in the audience who would like to speak against the proposal or has any other questions? Okay, great. Is there any additional discussion? Oh, yes. Please come to the microphone. Hello. Good morning. Could you state your name and address for the record?
My name is Naoka Barnes, and I live at 3630 Ukraine Drive. And my question is, they want to build it higher, why they can't be the same as it is, because it's congested as it is. I run down that street, St. Mary's Road. I'm off Ukraine, I'm over there. And I live there, and I know the traffic in that area. So my question is, why they got to build it so high, why they can't build it back the way it was? That's my question. Because I live there, and I know the streets and how it is when you try to get in and out, to get on the interstate.
Is your concern for the height itself or just the number of units?
The height itself and the number of units, why they can't put it back like it was, rebuild the way it was?
Okay. Ms. Jones, do you have any comment on that?
16 units burned down, and we'll build 16 back. It will look identical to what was there before.
Okay, and how about the height? Will it be about the same?
It will
or-
be the same. It will look just like all the other buildings in the complex.
And like it did before they burned
It's
down a year
two-story,
ago?
it's 8 and 8, 8 on top and 8 on the bottom. It'll look just like what was there before. We won't bring any additional traffic than what was there before.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Deborah Singletary, Holiday Park, Playa del Rey Drive. I have one question for Lucy. Matter of fact, I have two. How long would it take? And how much noise would it make? And when will you begin?
So how long will it take is gonna be up to the contractor. And building supplies today, I know y'all all know, my owner would like it built yesterday, because obviously they're losing money. So the insurance is done. This process, John, if we get approved here and we go through council, it would be rezoned by when?
About 45 days.
So about 45 days from now, and we're set on ready to go and start construction. Noise level, it would just be a normal, construction, hammers and nails, and hammers are down on the weekends typically, and, construction folks like to go home about 5. So, I would say they're gonna start at probably 7:30 and work until 5 o'clock, and then hammers are usually down for the weekends and start back again on Monday morning. So, is it gonna be, we want it as quiet as possible because other residents live in the complex too.
Plus,
So-
I live right behind. the
Right, we're gonna do everything we can,
My
to make it.
house backs it.
Well, so I'm sure you
So
saw
I
the
can
fire.
just walk over the fence, yes.
Right, so we want to build it back and you have something nicer in your backyard than what was there before.
So is it 6 months, a year it takes to build that?
Gosh, I really don't know, but probably about 6 months. 45 days plus 6 months, hopefully we're ready to rock and roll first of the year leasing apartments.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else in the audience with comments or questions? All right. Is there any additional discussion among the commissioners? Then would a commissioner like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I move that we approve the request to rezone case REZN 08221561, a request to rezone 6.63 acres of land located at 243 and 220 Oakley Drive. The current zoning is RMF2, residential multifamily 2. The proposed zoning is residential office with the condition that it be used for apartments only. Am I saying that right? Or apartments only will be put on this,
That's correct.
in
Yes.
this project? And it is compatible with the existing land use.
Okay, thank you. Would a commissioner like to second the motion? Thank you. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. I don't think I vote, do I? Do I need to vote? Okay.
Yes.
All right, it's unanimous. Nobody in opposition. And so the motion is approved with the conditions. And I will return to planning staff and then go to council, as I understand it.
That's correct. And as far as a new business, we have 2 cases that'll be scheduled for October the 5th.
Okay, great, thank you. Would a commissioner like to make a motion to adjourn? All right, second. We are adjourned. Thank you.